Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd. Hope everybody's having a great day so far. We have a lot to get into today. We talked a little bit about the owners meeting yesterday. Today, we're going to do a whole deep dive into it, not just the tush push, but everything that went on in there, the new rules that got passed, what got tabled, and what we might expect to have these rules change in the NFL this year. A couple massive contracts given out over the last couple of days in the MLB, including Garrett Crochet, Jackson Merrill, and Ketel Marte, all getting over $100 million from their teams, respectively. Of course, every Wednesday, we do our NBA power rankings. We'll do that as well as a whole bunch of other NBA topics with Jokic and Curry going off last night, as well as Carmelo Anthony being selected to the Hall of Fame. But before we get into any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 2nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into our NFL owners meetings. There was a lot that came out in the NFL owner meeting, but the most important ones, at least for the NFL-wide situation, were the rule changes. And there were a couple of major ones, a couple of minor ones. We're going to focus on the big topics that changed from the owners meetings. We're going to start off with the kickoff. The kickoff is something that has been a big issue in the NFL for a while at this point. They've been trying to figure out how to make it safer, which is why we've seen them go to this new dynamic kickoff format that we've seen in a bunch of spring leagues, including the UFL, as the NFL continues to kind of test, not officially, but use the UFL as this testing ground for some new rules. They had this kickoff already. I was a fan of it last season in the NFL. They're still going to remain with those dynamic kickoffs, but really one of the reasons that they switched to the dynamic kickoffs, aside from safety reasons, is because they wanted to make it so that there would be more returns. So to do that, they moved the touchback from the 25 to the 30-yard line, set up a whole parameter so that we would get as many returns as we possibly could. And in the beginning, it looked like it was working, and it still worked. We got a lot more returns than we were used to getting in the last couple seasons. But as we settled in, kickers and teams decided, hey, it's fine. They can start at the 30-yard line. So to once again help to make the kickoff a more exciting play as opposed to just an automatic touchback, they have moved the touchbacks from the 30-yard line now to the 35-yard line. Now, we're going to have to wait and see how much this is going to affect, because this is a huge advantage for offenses on touchbacks now, right? We talk about the 40-yard line being a crazy penalty. Right now, with the way that kickers are, there's a lot of kickers out there that can hit these 60, 65-yard field goals. Not as many of them that can make 65, but kickers that pretty consistently can hit from 60 yards out. A 60-yard field goal, you just need to get to the 43-yard line of the other team. That's all you need to get to, right? You need to get to the opponent's 43-yard line. You start on your own 35, that is just 22 yards to get into field goal range. That is a lot easier than 27, and even there, we saw a lot of field goals last year. We saw a lot of drives, a lot more aggression on fourth downs because the field position wasn't as bad because these were touchbacks. But the question does continue to go, how far until NFL teams start to get a little iffy on it? Once they hit the 40-yard line, they're going to have to change those penalties, because then the penalties are the same as the touchback, right? Right now, the difference between kicking it out of bounds and kicking it over the end zone is 5 yards now. Unless they decide to change that penalty, I think we might see a lot more teams try to do that risky strategy of kicking it more towards like a coffin corner kind of situation, trying to get it to go out of bounds in the end zone after it bounces in that landing zone, with the risk being 5 yards as opposed to 10 yards. Now, that's something that I think we might see some NFL teams implore this season. But overall, I wonder if the 35-yard line really does change some things. We saw the 25 to the 30 didn't do too much, but as we continue to inch our way closer and closer to the 50-yard line, closer and closer to NFL kicker field goal range, I just get the feeling that eventually this will work. And I can see it already. If it doesn't work again this year, they might push it to the 40. I can't see him pushing it past the 40, and even the 40 seems a little bit crazy. The 35 is pretty far out already. But anything to get that kickoff to be a real play rather than just a touchback is kind of their goal right now. So that's one of those minor rules that was moved. Another minor rule that has changed is the playoff overtime rules now apply in the regular season. It still doesn't fix my biggest issue with the regular season overtime, which is the fact that there can still be ties. But the overtime rules in the playoffs now apply in the regular seasons. For those who are unfamiliar with it, the playoff overtime rules basically just let each team have a possession. Touchdown or no, each team has one possession. It still would be a tie. It's still 10-minute overtime periods would be a tie if it were still tied at the end of that first overtime, which is my biggest issue. I'd like to see them implement some kind of, not really a shootout, because I know the NHL fans don't really love shootouts anyway, but some shootout style kind of thing in the NFL. Maybe you get kickers to do a long field goal kickoff or something. That could be a little bit of fun there at the end of the end of the game. But a lot of people would not be a big fan of that, leaving it all to the legs of the kickers. There's a lot of things they can do, but to get the overtimes to be a little bit more fair, we'll see how this goes. This is how the old overtime rules used to be before they made the changes. I like it. I like the fact that both teams get a chance. I just like to see them try and figure out a way around ties. The other minor rule that did get passed is the fact that they will be moving off of the chain game. And maybe this one is a little bit more major than we think. We're already seeing in a lot of different sports. Soccer, for instance, uses their VAR. They've got these cameras that can tell you exactly where the ball is. They use the computer models to go and check if it's over the line, if it's offside, stuff like that. We've seen it work over there. We've seen it work in the UFL, more crucially, where they're using the chip in the ball, measuring it down to the centimeter, off a margin of error of just centimeters, trying to figure out, is it a first down? Where is that ball being spotted? This is something that, might anger those old heads in football, the people that are like, we can't change it. Go yell at a cloud, right? This is something that is good for the game. We've seen so many controversies. Obviously, the one that pops into your head from most recently is the Bills-Chiefs one, where a lot of people, people that were broadcasting the game, people that cover the sport, thought it was a first down. It was ruled as not a first down. Chiefs get the ball back, and that ultimately helped send the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. Not the only reason, but definitely a major reason why the Bills didn't win that game. Now we get the computerized world. We've seen it in tennis. We've seen it in soccer. We've seen it in spring football. Now they're going to partner with Sony to help spot the ball. You're still going to have the refs out there. And, as much as the chain gang is good for what football looks like, it's a good thing that it's gone. Because one of the things that the chain gang does cause is injuries. There has been a non-zero amount of injuries due to this chain, due to the chain gang. It's still just it's literally a chain on the ground. Players can trip over that, get their cleats caught in it. It has happened in the past. It can lead to some nasty stuff, and it's just a big thing of metal. Now that that's out of the game, not only does that help with a minimal amount of player safety, to be fair, but it does help with player safety a little bit, and we're going to be more accurate. Hopefully the NFL does this right. We're still going to have to see it in action in the preseason before anything really happens, but I do love the fact that the chain gang, no more, it's still going to be a part of the lingo. It's going to be one of those things that we say and we don't really understand what it means. We're going to have to go back, they used to measure the first downs with a literal chain. So That's going to be a little fun piece of trivia in the next 20 years. But outside of that, nothing else major was passed. There were a couple major things that were talked about but were tabled, including the tush push. The tush push is one of the big conversations coming out of the owners' meetings, with 16 of the 32 owners in favor of banning the play. Now, we've been over this a couple times. I'm not a big fan of the tush push getting banned. I think it's one that you just need to figure a way to stop it. I also understand teams making certain arguments. The arguments that they're making for why it might be banned make no sense to me, though. The fact that it causes player injuries, there's been nothing to prove that injuries are caused from that play. There were 0 injuries last season in an NFL study, absolutely nothing from that. It doesn't affect the pace of play. The one reason I've seen that makes me understand why teams might not like it, it's not the one that the teams are going with, but it's the fact that you can't push defensively. And sure, it's one of those things where it's like, it's maybe a little bit of a gray area, but not every team can do it successfully. And because of that, this feels like a personal attack against the Super Bowl champion Eagles more than anything, as teams just need to figure out a way to either do it themselves or they need to figure out a way to stop it. And that is a lot easier said than done, but it's not something that calls for a ban, because 10 years from now, the Eagles are not going to be nearly as good at this play as they are right now. But the final one, and one of the more interesting ones that came out during the NFL meetings today, is the fact that the Lions proposed the new seeding for the NFL playoffs. It doesn't take away the automatic qualification that comes with winning your division. What it would take away is the automatic top 4 seeds. You would no longer be able to see those teams that come out winning their division at 9-8 have a home game to begin the NFL playoffs in the wild card round. Now you would go and you would just go by record. I'm a big fan of this. This is something that, again, it's going to make the old heads of football not very happy. And I can understand, right? It's been like this forever. But that's not a reason not to advance. It doesn't affect it too much. Where I would draw the line is taking away the automatic playoff spot for the winner of the division. Kind of like they do in the NBA. It makes the divisions meaningless. And I like the fact that you have these pre-baked rivalries in the NFL. It's something that makes it mean more, especially when you play these guys 2 times every single year. It helps really build up the culture in that sport, a little bit of a rivalry between the players, not just historic rivalries. Maybe, now you get these guys a reason, some tight games, some things, said a little bit, trash talked a little bit too much. You're going against them 2 times a year. It gets the players actually into the rivalry a little bit. And I do really love that about the NFL. As long as the winner of their division still gets a spot in the playoffs, I have no issue with reseeding based on record, because you want to reward teams like the Vikings last year that won 14 games. They were rewarded with a 5 seed. They were one of the best 5 seeds by record of all time. And this is not just a thing from last year. You can go back ever since they expanded to 7 teams. Every single year, all but 1 year, you would have shuffled everything around in each of those conferences. Sometimes you'd shuffle all the way up to the 2 seed. Sometimes you would just shuffle over to the 4 seed. But the 4 seed a lot of times falls to number 7, falls to number 6, falls to number 5, right? This is not a huge deal. I really don't think it is, but it's something that I would be interested in seeing. I doubt that one's actually going to pass, but that is something that I would be in favor of if I was voting on it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What were your biggest takeaways from the NFL owners meeting? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with these rules? How effective do you think these rules are going to be? What do you think of some of the stuff that did or didn't get passed? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to baseball. The baseball season about a week in now. Tomorrow will be 1 week in. There were 3 major contracts handed out over the last couple days. We're going to break each of them down, talk about whether or not they deserved it, and much more. Coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, some loose shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over the major rule changes that took place at the NFL owners' meetings over the weekend. In this segment, we turn our attention to baseball. The season is young, but that doesn't mean major contracts aren't already being handed out. We're going to talk about three major players that got massive new contracts coming up in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 2nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into the world of baseball. There have been three massive new contracts given out over the last couple of days, and we're going to go from oldest to newest. So starting off with Garrett Crochet. Garrett Crochet was traded to the White Sox, from the White Sox to the Red Sox this offseason. Ace pitcher being sent over there for a couple prospects, and he, in one outing so far this season, hasn't looked like a world beater, but it was his first outing. 5 innings, gave up a couple runs there. Didn't win, didn't lose. He's pitching right now, actually. So that's his first start after a massive contract. The Red Sox rewarded him for coming over, giving him a 6-year, $170 million deal. Now, this is absolutely worth it. Again, they traded for him. They gave up a lot for him. It wasn't a cheap trade to go and get a number one starter, a true ace. It's not the first time they've done that. They did a similar thing when they traded for Chris Sale. They traded for him, then gave him a massive contract. Garrett Crochet is a lot like Chris Sale in the fact that he's one of the most prolific strikeout pitchers that we have seen in a very long time. He's not to the level of Chris Sale, although he's very close to that level, averaging over his career 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. Chris Sale is ahead of him at about 12.9 is where he's at. That's in the same range of Spencer Strider. But what Garrett Crochet's been able to do since coming over is really incredible. And the fact that the Red Sox were able to lock him up on what, at the end of the day, isn't that insane of a deal. I mean, you're talking about some guys making way more than that for the level, right? You're talking 170 over 6 years, $28 million a year. That is not the worst. Max Scherzer was making more money than that when he signed his massive contract. Justin Verlander also was making more money than that when they were a lot older. Locking him up for 6 years on what isn't a cheap contract, but also isn't going to break the bank for the Red Sox here is huge as they continue to build around a very talented pitching staff once they can get a little bit more healthy. Speaking of young guys that got locked up with a massive discount, how about Jackson Merrill? Jackson Merrill was a rookie phenom for the San Diego Padres last year. He didn't win Rookie of the Year because there was a little guy named Paul Skeens over there that just had a little bit something to say. But he got rewarded for his incredible year and what he started off this season as the Padres start off red hot this year right now. 9 years, $135 million. That is $15 million per year for Jackson Merrill. Jackson Merrill is amazing. You look at what this kid has done in such a short period of time. He has already established himself as a star on a team loaded with stars. It's very hard to come out and prove that you are a special player when you are playing with the likes of Manny Machado and Xander Bogaerts and all of these guys that are on this team, Fernando Tatis Jr., everybody else that makes this team as special as they are. But Jackson Merrill has absolutely done that. Playing center field, amazing defensively, amazing at the plate. Getting him for $15 million a year is a steal. This is almost as much of a steal as the contract the Royals gave to Bobby Witt Jr. or the contract that the Mariners gave to Julio Rodriguez. This is why I always say in sports, it's good to get them early. He's locked up for 9 more years. He's going to be locked up through his prime, basically, until he's at least the age of 30. Jackson Merrill will be on this Padres team. It's incredible what it can do for your team's finances by locking players up early. I love this contract. I think Jackson Merrill is only going to continue to grow. He's not quite an MVP caliber player yet, but there is a chance that maybe he gets there, and giving him a contract for only $15 million a year is an absolute steal for a guy like Jackson Merrill. I love this deal for the Padres. And with how much money they're spending, the fact that they're able to get a young guy that they developed for only $15 million a year is huge. This team is going to continue to grow. They have shown a very, very much a willingness to spend big on players. Jackson Merrill is yet another example of that. The last contract that was given out, though, Ketel Marte, the all-star second baseman, was re-upped with the Diamondbacks, a 6-year, $116 million extension for him. Ketel Marte has been a huge part of what makes this Diamondbacks team run so smoothly. He was a huge part of them making it all the way to the World Series. He was a huge part of what was a super dynamic offense last season when the pitching broke down and they ended up missing the playoffs. Ketel Marte is a must-have, and at 6 years, $116 million, getting him again less than $20 million, you still, have to go out and sign guys like you have to go out and sign the other guys on your roster, right? You have to go out and sign Corbin Carroll. You went out and spent a lot of money this offseason by going out and getting Corbin Burnes. This is a Diamondbacks team that is ready to spend money, keep this team together, try and get back to the World Series. I think this is a very dangerous Diamondbacks team, and I can't wait to see what happens. Ketel Marte is an excellent signing for them. He's someone that I absolutely love coming back to the desert in Arizona, playing for the Snakes. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of these 3 massive contracts? Which was the best one? Which one is the best value? And which one of these players do you think will end up outvalued? Do you think all of these players will be outvaluing their contracts in the next couple years? I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the NBA. It is Wednesday, and that means our NBA Power Rankings hot off the press for you. Some movement up at the top from last week. We'll talk about who's there, who's where, coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC. to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over the massive contracts given out in the MLB to Garrett Crochet, Jackson Merrill, and Ketel Marte. In this segment, we turn our attention to basketball. The NBA season is winding down. That means one thing. The NBA playoffs are right around the corner. We only have a couple more power rankings to go before we get to the most exciting season, playoff season for basketball. We got our next NBA power rankings coming up here in a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 2nd. But like I was saying, we're going to get into our NBA power rankings here, starting off at number 30, where once again, the Utah Jazz sit. The Utah Jazz are currently tied for the worst record in the NBA. They have been down there for quite a while. This is not a good Utah Jazz team. I don't think that's too bold of a statement for me to make right now. This is a Utah Jazz team currently eliminated from the playoffs, sitting at 16-60. That is, again, tied with the Wizards for the least amount of wins, I should say, in the NBA right now. The Jazz, the reason they're not below the Wizards is just because they don't have a lot of young guys that I'm excited to see. This is a Jazz team that doesn't have a lot set up for the future. That number one pick would be huge for them. At number 29, I've got those Washington Wizards. They are sitting at a nice, respectable 16-59. They, of course, the bottom of the Eastern Conference there. They've walked away from their number one overall draft pick, basically guaranteed, by winning a couple games after the break. And overall, they've looked pretty solid, but they're back to their losing ways. They haven't been necessarily close the last couple of times out, which at least they had been competitive when they were right after the All-Star break, right after the trade deadline. They had been competitive for a little while. They're back to not being competitive. 2-8 over their last 10 is simply not good enough. Right above them, though, it's the team that they've beaten the most. The Charlotte Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets, also not a good team, but injuries have contributed a lot to that. Sitting at 19-56 right now, this is a Charlotte Hornets team that, if they can stay healthy, again, it's a big if with this team. They haven't really been able to do it all of LaMelo Ball's career. Maybe they can be a play-in style team. We'll just have to see. The Eastern Conference is all locked up for playoffs. The Western Conference, still a little bit of a jumble there, but it just has not been very good. At number 27, we have the 76ers. News broke today that Joel Embiid is going to undergo some surgery on his knee. We hope that he has a successful surgery and recovers quickly. It's always better when he's out there on the court, and that's been the issue this year. He hasn't been out there on the court. Paul George has been suffering injuries. Tyrese Maxey also dealing with injuries, not enough. You had a promising rookie in Jared McCann, also out for the season with an injury. This is a team that, if it stays healthy next season, could once again return to the top of the East, but this is just not their year. 23-53, it's just a big mess. At 26, we have the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets have figured out a way to lose recently. Now, they have won 2 straight games, but still 3-7 over their last 10 games, 25-51 overall on the season. This is a Nets team that came into the season trying to lose games. They traded for their own picks back in the expectation that they will lose a lot of games. They were right about that, but I think they were a little bit better than they expected. We'll see where that lands them in the lottery. At number 25, we have the Raptors. They've shown some life as of late. They've been pretty solid, average, you might say, 5-5 over their last 10 games, sitting at 28-48. Again, not their season. Injuries have really ruined it. They weren't able to quite replicate the success that they had last season. This is still a really young team. It's a young team with a lot of potential on it. They bring in Brandon Ingram and extend him, actually, so he's going to be there for a little while longer. It's a solid trade deadline if he's able to stay healthy and be the guy that we all know he can be when he's out there on the court. But the Raptors, this again, was just kind of a throwaway season for them after the way things started. At 24, we've got the Pelicans, and it's kind of been the story of all of these teams, right? All these teams that are eliminated from the playoffs, injuries. Zion shut down for the year. CJ McCollum shut down for the year. All these guys that could have been on what I think truly could be a very good team just couldn't stay healthy, not at the same time. Maybe they can get back. Maybe they can be healthy next season, but with the way this Pelicans team has been over the last couple seasons, there's no way I can count on them to be anything other than injured. At 23, we've got the Spurs. I hate to sound like a broken record, but again, injuries have been the story of this team. Victor Wembanyama goes down. They trade for De'Aaron Fox. He goes down for the year. Even their coach, not quite an injury, Greg Popovich had to step away from coaching due to medical concerns. He might be back. We don't know the timetable on Victor Wembanyama. He's out indefinitely. He should be ready for next season based on reports. This is a team that's punting for next year. They've got a lot of young talent. They've got a lot of guys ready to explode once Victor Wembanyama makes his return. But they're the first team that's still alive for the playoff race in our power ranking so far. Right above them, we have the Portland Trail Blazers. They look like that they might find a way to the play-ins this year. I was kind of rooting for it. They're not dead in the water yet. At 33-43, they're only 3.5 games back of the Sacramento Kings, who currently hold that 10 seed. The Trail Blazers have kind of been mediocre. They started off incredibly hot after the All-Star break, one of the hottest teams in basketball. They've kind of cooled down a little bit. They've gone 5-5 over their last 5 games. Over the last 10 games, But this is a team that's still very much alive. I think with the young guys they have, Denny Avdija has really stepped up this season. Maybe they can find a way, potentially, to make it over the Kings and the Sun. Speaking of the Suns are right here on number 21, right ahead of the Trail Blazers. They've lost 4 straight games. Kevin Durant is injured. That is brutal for them. He has been the engine that drives the success of this team. They are at the outside looking in right now as the playoffs are right around the corner, a game and a half back of those Sacramento Kings who hold on to that 10 spot. I think they've run out of gas, and this is a disappointing team if there ever was one. The Heat climb back a couple spots to number 20. They have locked their spot into the play-in. They're still in the race there. They're still going for seeding. They're 2 games back of the 7-seed Orlando Magic, so maybe they can find their way in there. But right now they also have to watch their back because the Bulls, who are really hot right now, they're only half a game back of the Heat right now. And the 9-seed, the 10-seed, we'll have to see what happens there. But the Heat have won 5 straight games after losing 10 straight games. Maybe they've figured out how to play with the team. It does take a little while, of course, to get used to players when you trade away the star player on your team. The Heat will figure it out in the playoffs. We'll see how far they can go. At number 19, we have those Kings, a team that's kind of been floundering of late, 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 2 straight games now. I'm not sure they're going to hold on to their playoff spot. They do have the benefit of being able to stay steady with the Phoenix Suns, who also are losing a lot of games. But the Trail Blazers are the team to watch right now. The Sacramento Kings need to turn it on if they want to secure their spot in the play-in this year. At number 18, we have the Bulls. This has been a very hot team. Now, they haven't been unbeatable, But compared to where they were at the beginning of the season, this is a Bulls team that has really turned a corner. I love the way that the rookie Matthias Buzelis has been playing. This is a Bulls team that I really am a fan of. I just don't think they're quite ready to make a deep run this year. Speaking of a team I really do like, it's the Orlando Magic. They are starting to get healthy at the right time. They are pretty much locked into the play-in. They're 5 games back of the Milwaukee Bucks. They're currently sitting at 37-40, so 77 games in. They've only got 5 games to go. Maybe with the way that the Bucks are floundering, they can find a way to take over that 6th seed, but they're basically locked in. They just need to stay healthy right now. They need to continue relying on their guys because when they're all there, this is a team that I think can cause a lot of damage in the postseason. At number 16, we've got the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks have been red hot. They're tied dead even with the Orlando Magic, but they have been hot right now. Trae Young playing great basketball. This is a team that built really around what I thought was kind of a weak trade deadline and really turned it around. I'm really impressed with this Hawks team. At number 15, though, we have the Mavericks. They're getting healthy. Daniel Gafford has come back. Anthony Davis is coming back soon. They're still not going to be Anthony Davis already back. This is not necessarily a Mavericks team that's going to make heads roll, but this is a Mavericks team that if they get the right matchup could be dangerous in the West. Right now, at that 9 seed, they're not going to catch up to the Clippers. They're 6.5 games back of them. But you see them get the 8 seed against the Thunder. Could be interesting. We'll have to see what happens. The Bucks are here at number 14, and they're floundering a bit. Obviously, losing Dame is a huge loss for them. Giannis is great, but he can't do everything on his own. When they get Bobby Portis back, that's going to be big. They need more depth in that front court. I just don't know how deep this Bucks team is going to go, especially from that 6th seed position matched up against the Knicks. At number 13, I've got the Pistons. The Pistons are their own thing. The bad boy Pistons are back, right? They got into a bit of a fight, a little scuffle, couple ejections they're going to have to deal with. This is a Pistons team that is locked basically into that 5 seed, currently sitting 2 games back of the Pacers. They're not out of that. They're not out of the woods. They could potentially climb up to the 4 seed there, but still, they're most likely going to be playing the Pacers, so it's not really worth the chase unless they truly think that that home court advantage means a lot. Maybe they try a little bit, but right now they're trying to stay healthy, be ready for a playoff series with a young roster. At number 12, we've got the Clippers. Seeing a play-in team above a playoff team, that's the disparity right there between the East and the West. James Harden has been playing amazing basketball. Kawhi Leonard is back healthy. They're trying to make sure he can stay healthy for the playoffs. He doesn't do back-to-backs right now. This is a Clippers team that has really surprised me. They've, honestly, has been the good surprise of the season for me, other than the Pistons. I thought the Clippers were going to be really bad, but they turned it around, or didn't turn it around. They stayed successful. I'm really shocked how good the Clippers are this year. At number 11, we've got the Knicks. They just need to get healthy. Without Jalen Brunson, they've been kind of average. They still need to figure out what's going to happen at center. The injury bug just continues to get this team. If they just can stay healthy, this is a dangerous team. But for now, they're outside the top 10. Getting into the top 10, though, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. They fire their coach in one of the more interesting moves that I've seen in a very long time with just 9 games to go. They haven't won a game since. It's not the greatest move for the locker room, I don't think. I don't really understand it. Even if they were going to move off of him at the end of the season, firing him now just completely takes all the momentum you've gathered and throws it out the window. I'm not a big fan of what the organization did there. The Timberwolves at number 9 have been really hot. They are right there, tied with the Memphis Grizzlies for that at that 6-7 line, trying to get to out of the play-in into the playoffs. Half a game back of Golden State. A statement win against the Nuggets last night is going to do wonders for them. The way that Anthony Edwards and that team has been playing of late has been amazing. They've won 3 straight. 7-3 in their last 10 games. This is a Timberwolves team that is absolutely rolling at the right time. Speaking of rolling at the right time, that's what the number 8 team in our power ranking is doing as well, the Pacers. They go out there, they have clinched a playoff spot. That's right. They are the first team on our list that has clinched a playoff spot, one of just 5 teams in the NBA that has clinched a playoff spot so far. This is a really good Pacers team. This is a Pacers team that, despite dealing with injuries, has continued to stay hot. I love the way this Pacers team plays basketball. They're going to be a tough out again in this year's Eastern Conference playoffs. At number 7, though, we've got the Lakers. I did drop them just a little bit from last week. Or excuse me, I did move them up a little bit from last week. They're up 2 spots from last week because they're getting healthy again. That's kind of been the story in every sports league, but especially for this Lakers team. Anthony, when you have Austin Reeves playing the level of basketball that he is right now, LeBron James still doing his LeBron James thing. You've got Luka Doncic, of course, doing Luka Doncic things. This is a Lakers team that's going to be a really, really tough out. But I just don't feel like with the defense that they've been able to play, I don't think it's going to be able to stand up to the scrutiny and intensity of playoff basketball. And that's why I have the Warriors ahead of them. The Golden State Warriors have been everything they promised to be once they acquired Jimmy Butler and more. They have been amazing with him, and a statement win the other night with Curry dropping over 50 points, nearly setting the record for most threes made in a single game, with Jimmy Butler continuing to be an excellent co-star for him. When those two are on the court together, this Warriors team looks near unbeatable. We'll have to see how it looks in the playoffs, but I love this Warriors team right now. Getting into the top 5, we've got the Denver Nuggets. Despite Jokic dropping 61 points in a 61-point triple-double last night, they still ended up losing in double overtime. A brutal way to go out. But this is a Nuggets team that, as long as they have Jokic, is going to be hanging around that top 5 territory because he just is that special of a player. At number 4, we've got the Houston Rockets, a red-hot young Rockets team. They just lost a big game against the Lakers last time out, but still, this is a Rockets team that I do believe in a lot. They're a young team, so I don't know how deep they're going to go into the playoffs, but holding on to that 2 seed in the East, in the West, is really impressive for such a young team right now. We'll have to see how far they can go. But getting to the top 3, this one might be a little controversial, but I'm putting the Cavs here at number 3. There's nothing that the Cavs have done. They've been playing great basketball, right? They secured a 60-win season already, and while they haven't clinched that number 1 overall seed in the conference, they've basically got that locked up, right? At 60-15 with just 7 games to go, they've got a 4-game lead on the Celtics, but I just don't think they're playing as well as the Celtics right now, so I had to drop them down 1 spot because I have the Celtics at number 2. You talk about a team clicking. This is a team that is in real danger, or there's a real threat, I should say, to take that top spot in the East. You thought the Cavs had it locked up, but the Celtics are right there. We forget so easily that they were one of the best teams that we've ever seen put together last year that steamrolled, I should say, to a championship, 9-1 over their last 10. They have won 9 straight games. They are the hottest team in basketball right now, or at least in the Eastern Conference. These Celtics are dangerous, and they are dangerous at the right time yet again. But of course, at number 1, the real hottest team in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're the only ones that have clinched their conference. They have won 10 straight games. They have won 63 games. They're sitting at 63-12 right now. This is a Thunder team that is young, hungry, and most importantly, dangerous. They have the MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, on their team, but this is going to be a really fun playoffs, and I can't wait to see. But once again, top 10 for you. Grizzlies at 10, Timberwolves at 9, Pacers at 8, Lakers at 7, Warriors at 6, the Nuggets at 5, the Rockets at 4, Cavs at 3, Celtics at 2, and the Oklahoma City Thunder sitting at 1. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of the NBA Power Rankings? Who's your top 5? Drop those in the comments. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the big day from yesterday in the NBA. Steph Curry, 50 points, nearly breaks the 3-point record. Jokic doing things we've never seen before, a 61-point triple-double. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up next here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, if you are just tuning in. We just finished going over our NBA power rankings as we do each and every single Wednesday. In this segment, we turn our attention over to some more news from around the world of basketball, including Carmelo Anthony being named to the Hall of Fame, a first ballot Hall of Famer. We'll talk about him. We'll talk about the big nights from Jokic and Curry last night as well. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 2nd. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into some more basketball news. Curry and Jokic show out last night. That is the best way I can put it for you here in simple words. Steph Curry could not miss in the first half of that game. Steph Curry drops 12 threes en route to a 52-point masterclass where they dominate that game, really. Steph Curry goes out, and once again, it shows why he is the best three-point shooter of all time. He goes out there and it looks effortless for him. It's one of those things that doesn't even make headline news anymore because he just seemingly does this every single time he steps on the court. He just doesn't miss. Steph Curry, incredibly special. We are witnessing greatness right now, but he wasn't the only one that saw greatness on the court last night. That was Jokic. Nikola Jokic, 61 10 and 10, a 61-point triple-double for the Joker, the best player on the planet right now, and it all came in a loss. A double overtime thriller, one of the best games we have seen all NBA season between the shorthanded Timberwolves and the Nuggets. This is one of those games that you could write a book about, right? Nikola Jokic comes into this game once again as the best player in basketball. And he is the thing that is keeping this team afloat. He just dominates start to finish. He finishes the game again with 61 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. But they lose. This is now the third time in his entire career when Jokic has dropped more than 50 points. And he doesn't do it too often. You'd think he'd do it more because he's such a prolific offensive player. But he's only had 3 times in his career where he's passed the 50-point mark. 2 of them came this year, one against the Wizards, and this one, of course, where he dropped 61. But he's 0-3 the Nuggets are when Jokic drops 50-plus points in his career, which is wild to me. Generally, when a guy is putting out his career best in point totals or passing 50 points, this team generally wins. But the Nuggets can't get it done, seemingly, whenever Jokic is dropping 50-plus points. 0-3 in his career there. But this game's bigger story, it seemed, was the crazy ending to it. There were a couple opportunities for the Timberwolves to end it. In regulation, there were a 3 double coverage, did not quite go. In overtime, very similar situation. Tie game, Timberwolves had the shot, a 3 did not go. In double overtime, though, we had a very weird sequence. The Nuggets were up by 1 point. Westbrook gets it on a fast break, misses a layup. Less than 10 seconds to go, clock is ticking. The Timberwolves get the ball across half court. They get the ball into the corner where Westbrook, in a last-ditch effort to try and play defense, lunges at the three-point shooter. Now, it's not necessarily a move that I disagree with, but you have to understand basketball at that point. You don't want to foul. Fouling is the worst thing. It wasn't the most obvious foul, but he did land in the area where the shooter needed to land, and you got to give the shooter the ability to come back down. It's just not safe if you don't give him that landing space. So I do understand the foul call there. Russell Westbrook is an incredibly talented player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, most likely a first ballot Hall of Famer. But that was one of those just not paying attention, not high basketball IQ moments. He's had a couple of those over his career. A lot of those came with the Lakers. He's been a lot better this season, but it all kind of came out in a big moment where he's just trying too hard to make a play, maybe make up for the fact that he missed a layup on the other end. A little bit too much. They end up losing that game by 1 point. A lot of it, and again, it's not just on Westbrook there, but a lot of it does boil down to a couple of mistakes that Westbrook made at the end of that game right there. But outside of that, the other major piece of NBA news came for the Hall of Fame, as Carmelo Anthony was named a Hall of Famer. Not just a Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Carmelo Anthony, of course, a legend in the game of basketball. He's a 10-time All-Star, a 6-time All-NBA player, 2012, 2013 scoring champ with the New York Knicks, a Knicks legend, someone that will or already has his jersey retired over in New York. Syracuse as well. He's one of the best one and done players of all time in college basketball, leading Syracuse on a great and a pretty deep NCAA tournament run. Carmelo Anthony absolutely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame here. He is someone that doesn't really get enough respect because he came in that same draft class as LeBron James. So he didn't end up winning Rookie of the Year, but he was on that All-75, the 75th anniversary team that the NBA did a couple years ago. Top 75 basketball player of all time, according to the NBA. He's a legend of the game. Congratulations to him for being named to the Hall of Fame. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on any of this. What did you think of the games last night? Curry and Jokic. What do you think of Carmelo Anthony being inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We will be back tomorrow talking all things sports. More stuff out of the NFL as the NFL draft is right around the corner. The MLB continues to go. The Dodgers are chasing history as we speak. We'll talk about that and much more then. I'll see you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn ain't that